I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
Here we go. It's another edition of the Daily Puck Drop. It's a Wednesday. The smiling Jim Moore is here. We're going to get to him in a quick second. We'll talk Felix Hernandez. We're going to talk biggest game ever, of course, the Rams and Seahawks. We got In the Bloody Trenches with Rob Staton. Give you a little soundbite preview of Inside Pitch with Ryan Divish. I'm going to tell you right now, Jim Moore is salty this morning. I mean, extra.
No, I'm not.
You
no,
can't.
I'm not.
You are not going to
You're in the mood
believe.
to throw me under the bus, and I'm gonna tell you that it's whatever you lay out there is not going to be accurate.
Oh, you are gonna be surprised, maybe not, of who Jim Moore has put in his target. In his little sniper rifle when he's hunting down in Bend, Oregon. Might be the only person in America that has taken the Uzi to this young man right now. Like this guy is like the poster child of everything right in sports, but not according to Jim Moore, the go-to guy. We will get to that in a second. Of course, Rams, Seahawks. I mentioned Felix Hernandez. We're going to cover.
God, you're a
all
dick.
of them.
You're just an absolute dick.
We're going to. You brought it up. We're going to talk Mick Cronin. Have you seen the latest with Mick Cronin? I
love Mick Cronin. Don't you?
Everybody loves Mick Cronin. And I got a great story coming out of Arizona. Wilt Chamberlain, move over. A big story coming out of Arizona. Of course, we are in the Limback Lumber Studios. Contractors have free deliveries, everything from whole house packages to homeowner DIY projects. They got the largest stock moldings in the Northwest, old school service. They've been doing it since 1930. Give them a call, 206-782-3487. Visit them at limbacklumber.com. Visit me on social media, Puck Sports everywhere except for TikTok. It's Puck_sports. And go to pucksports.com, sign up to become a Puck Posse member. It's just $5 a month. You support everything we do here daily. Plus, we give you bonus shows every single week. The latest sports bit with Stretches out, came out yesterday. You will have Inside Pitch with Divish today, and then KJ Arnts tomorrow with Mitch. But right now, joining us from, it doesn't look like Bend, parts unknown. It's Bonnie the go-to guy.
Beautiful Bonnie Lake.
Oh, Bonnie Lake. Yeah, Bonnie Lake's got nice. Yeah, never mind. Joining us from Bonnie Lake, never mind, is the great Jim Moore, brought to you by.
Hey, that's pretty nice. I mean, you're going to be trashing me here in a few minutes.
I'm not going to trash you.
Brotherton Cadillac and Shoreline, Brotherton Cadillac and Brotherton Buick GMC in Renton. And Brad, I guarantee you I'm going to nail this read today since I didn't nail it on Monday. With Brotherton, you can expect customer convenience with online payment calculators, finance applications for pre-approval, and trade-in value tools to streamline the car buying experience. Stop by either dealership in Shoreline or Renton or visit brothertonauto.com. Yeah! All right. The Angry Beaver in Greenwood. You ever see anybody get so fired up to read through an ad like that? Seattle's premier hockey bar. You can watch the Kraken lose another game against the Islanders tonight. Climate Pledge Arena. If you don't have tickets to go to that game, go to the Angry Beaver. Kids and dogs are welcome at the Angry Beaver. And tonight, it's Geeks Who Drink Trivia. I don't get these guys. Geeks Who Drink Trivia, 7 to 9 tonight at the Angry Beaver. Also want to thank A Clean Streak. Brian Turner and his crew, roof cleaning, gutter cleaning, pressure washing. They'll do it all. They're window washing experts, too. For a free estimate, call 360-395-5748 or visit acleanstreak.com. I wanted to talk a little longer than usual about the sponsors I'm so grateful to, because I know that you're going to throw me under the bus at any point here, and I'm
not going to throw you under the
bus running. I'm delaying the tread marks going over my 220-pound body.
Do you want me not to bring up what we talked about before? I will. If you say don't bring it up.
You can bring up whatever you want. The show is pucksports.com. Yeah, it's your show. You can do whatever you want. And I've been a friend for a long time. I'm wearing the Puck Sports hat.
Yeah.
Most friends are good to their friends.
That you wouldn't bring up. So Jim, I don't know how we even got onto this. We've got things to talk about. I mean, this is taking away from Rams and Seahawks and Felix. I mean, we shouldn't spend a second on this, but here we are. So one of the great storylines, I lost $50. This is how we got started on it. I lost $50 to Jim again. I'm on a bad losing streak to Jim Moore. $50. I took Indiana minus the 8 against the Hurricanes. Now, God, Indiana was there. They kept going up by 10. Then the late score, just trading back and forth. Ended up, they end up winning by 6. But I lose because they can't punch it in there on that last touchdown. That last time they were driving down there, they got to settle for the field goal. Now I'm bitching and complaining because I think there was a lot of clutching and grabbing going on by the Hurricanes. A lot of dirty shots all day long. A lot of holding. That game shouldn't have been as close as it was, in my opinion. Now I'm coming from a place of someone who lost money, so take that for whatever you want. And then Jim said, "You know what? I'm glad they lost." One, because I won money.
No, they didn't lose.
Oh, excuse me. I'm glad they lost a bet. And then he goes, and you know what I'm kind of tired of? Tell everyone who you're tired of. Here's who, Jim Moore, the go-to guy.
It's pretty rich. It's pretty rich. Whoever's going to be listening right now to this, they're probably thinking, God, I can't believe Moore is tired of that guy. We're sick of Moore. What the hell? Why does Puckett have him on 3
everybody's
days
sick
a
of
week?
you. Everyone's
He's
sick
got
of me.
shitty takes. He's really bad at predicting outcomes of games. Why does Jason continue to have this idiot on his podcast?
Let me introduce you to the person that the go-to guy is tired of, and tired of not only him but the family too. That's Fernando Mendoza hugging his mom, who has MS. MS, by the way. Yeah, there he is.
Okay, come on.
That's the guy that people should be tired of. The kind of all-American guy with a great-looking family, with a mom that's in a wheelchair, with a dad that loves them, that has the audacity, and I'm not religious, and neither of you, to thank God after a game. That's the guy that you're picking a fight of.
Okay.
This guy that's hugging his mom in a wheelchair.
All right. Okay.
Jesus. Of the guys that you're tired of, that guy's the guy, huh?
In case anyone was on about whether I'm a dick or not, I kind of pushed you onto the dick side with this one. It just occurred to me, like the first time I saw Fernando Mendoza, that's his name, right? The quarterback for Indiana.
Yes, that's his name.
God, what a great kid. I love the way he looks at the camera. I love how he smiles. And like you're saying, he's everything that you should love about sports, amateur athletics, and all of these things. And you're right. Okay, then the second time I saw him, I still love him. I'm kind of going, God, what a great kid, what a great interview. Yeah. And the third time I was starting to wane a little bit on him because he was kind of talking a little too much and being a little too sugary and cheery and wonderful and happy. And then the fourth or fifth time I saw him, I thought, Jesus Christ, kid, you're 22 years old. Just talk like a normal 22-year-old. Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
And I will admit, because I'm not a religious person, I told you before the show started today that my judgment day, I know if there is a judgment day, it's not going to go well. God or whoever the hell's talking to me, it's going to be like, hey, man, you're only here for 5 seconds because you're going south here in a second. So I understand that. But, the thanking God before every interview, whoever the athlete is who does that, I'm out on that. Okay. I'm just kind of out on that because what that tells me is that, God, of course, it's always the winner they talk to. It's almost like, what did God just say? You know what? Miami, Carson Beck, he doesn't go to church as much as you, Fernando. So I'm going to be with you tonight. I don't think that really is what's happening. Nor does God give a shit what the hell happens, the outcome of a football game.
Unless God
going on in the world.
Unless God's got a rebet account.
I don't mean God probably had Miami in 8 then. I don't know. But yeah, so that was, it's not like I'm out on Fernando Mendoza, but I'm not as
So when
100% in as I was the first time I saw him.
So when you saw
How's
Mendoza
that?
hug
I can't
his,
be the only one.
hold on. When you saw
I
Mendoza,
can't
hold
be
on.
the only one who's a little
Hold on.
tired of the hey everybody, look at
Yeah.
me, look at the camera, and I'm just so grateful. And I just
So-
got my teammates and my guys are just I just love how we're just all as one. I mean, I don't know.
So when you
It
got
wore me out,
Mendoza,
finally.
when you're watching on TV, and Mendoza's hugging his mom, who's got MS in a wheelchair, you say to you turn to Kathy
okay,
and go,
I feel
"I'm kinda-
terrible
hey,
about
Kathy,
that."
Kind of fucking sick of this story. Jeez.
No, come on. Don't, like, how many buses do you want to throw me under? And like,
God,
how big a
that
bus
really-
is this? I mean,
I look at that
Yeah, you
picture of
wanna just-
Mendoza, who has led a pretty clean life. Looks like
I'm
he's grown
talking
up
about
great.
his interviews. I'm
I
not talking
understand
about his mother.
And I'm thinking when he's hugging his mom and then he thanks God, he thanks his mom after the game. This is when I think of all the things on social media that's going on in our world right now, and the 15,000 wars apparently we're going to start. This is the image right here of Mendoza hugging his mom and talking about his Savior, the Lord Jesus Christ, that gets me up in the.
Okay. All right. Okay. And I can't be the only one. I know that it's a minority. Not. It's a small camp that
you're probably
it's a small
not.
camp that I'm in. But I imagine there's some other people right now listening to the podcast going, I mean, most of them are going, God, Jim's a jackass. But there might be a couple that are going, yeah, you know what? I'm
sure there is.
Mendoza kid
I do like.
It's just like when I wrote about Kirk Herbstreit, and I'm tired of him taking his golden retriever everywhere.
I don't like the dog.
If I'm a golden retriever, I don't want to be 30,000 feet flying all over hell and back. I want to be home in Nashville hanging out with the other golden retrievers at my
dog
house.
Looks kind of happy, though, walking around the field.
That made me out to be a bad guy, too. I'm looking out for the dog's welfare. But, God, I can't believe, God, Jim, you're a jackass, So, that's just, I'm not trying to be a contrarian with Mendoza. I'm really not. And I also, based on my vast knowledge of, I've got some Mel Kiper in me. I don't necessarily do you feel like Mendoza is a can't miss? I mean, I was listening to Rob Rang on Ian's show the other day, and Rob Rang doesn't think he's a can't miss guy, and that's a guy who actually follows it. And I'm kind of with him. Do you see an NFL star in the making when you watch Mendoza play?
Well, I don't think. First of all, none of these guys are can't misses. I mean, it could be a flaw in all these guys. Does he have a flaw? Probably, but I don't know. He looks the part. He's fast. He's got a great arm. He's big. He's a leader. People follow him. Throws his body on the line, and in the biggest moments makes the biggest plays. And is he goofy? Yeah,
that was a hell of a run that he made. That was a hell of a run.
He's a goofy son of a bitch, but I don't know. There's something kind of endearing about him. You've frozen up a little bit, but I do want to point. I'm gonna laugh because I need to laugh with what's happening right now. But I do like this from Tuffy FYI 10. Jim, picture Mendoza's mom getting loaded into an ice truck.
No. God, no. If there's anybody wondering how I feel about ice, I'll tell you right now, ice. I'm completely out on that shit. The way they're handling things. Okay.
Okay. Well, we don't need to go there. I put it there for you. But hey, listen, Mendoza's. He's a great story.
It's a fleet of buses that you've managed to have. Half of your listening audience right now with my ice comments there.
No, I think you're fine. You're right now. It's perfect because you're freezing up right now constantly, and we can barely hear you. But hey, listen, I like that your take on Mendoza. It's fresh. You're probably one of the only ones that has it, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's good. I just didn't think we would go there to start the show, but hey, listen, I never know where this show is going to go. So. Mendoza, you're not a fan. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with being a fan. I like looking at you. Apparently, you can still hear me, but your image is frozen, which is awesome. Which I enjoy. Have you? Can we? Yeah. You want to talk Seahawks and Rams right now?
Yeah, I'm ready to talk anything you want to talk about. By the way, here's a guy that's throwing me under the bus, right? I've already mentioned that like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm doing while you're doing all this? I'm at a periodontist office in South Center, and Claire,
Yes.
terrific, Northwest Periodontics. I love her to death. And she just happened to ask, well, you're doing this podcast with your former radio partner. Do you guys plan out what you're going to talk? And I came right away with a compliment. I said, you know what? I've worked with so many people who plan every segment out, and we talk about this now, and then we talk about this now, and then we talk about. I go, this guy, Jason Puckett, I love the way he operates because we never know what we're going to talk about. I have an idea of what we're going to talk about. I like that he wants to kind of free form it and be, what's that word? Not granola, generic or no.
Hey, I do like granola.
Organic.
Organic. There you go. You nailed it. You finally got to it.
So I'm sitting there while she's drilling away on me, and I'm giving you a compliment, and then I come into this. This is what I walk into.
Yeah, well, it's you offered it up, and then once you kind of threw the line in the water, I felt obligated like a chunky little trout to take it and run with it and see where we could go. All right. I enjoyed it. It's refreshing to hear.
Well, when we're off the air, isn't
Mendoza.
that understood to be off the record?
Oh, I don't
Isn't that
think so.
Record when we're off the air talking about things?
I did give you the opportunity for me to not bring it up, and you said it's okay. You said it was fair game. So you're all good. All right.
Yeah.
So I brought it up.
You want to rip me for Starbucks now? Like I shouldn't be going to Starbucks. You want to rip me for that?
No, you can go to you can do whatever you want. Go to Starbucks, do whatever you would like. It sounds like they've got great Wi-Fi at this dentist office. Hey, the Rams safety Cam Curl. This is going to get a lot of play this week. Everyone's going to like, oh, I can't believe he said that. In an interview, I believe, with one of your old good friends, Sam Farmer of the LA Times, Cam Curl, safety for the Rams, says, I feel like we're the better team. They got lucky and won it in the end last time out. We're waiting for them. Yeah. Bulletin board material.
Fighting words.
Mm-hmm.
They did get lucky, but he shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, but don't we like it when players say this stuff? We can't have it both ways, right? Because we can't say, "Oh, you shouldn't have said that. That's wrong to say." But then at the same time, we beg for these players to be honest and to say stuff like this, don't we?
Yeah, I appreciate that he said it. Whatever adds to the rivalry and gets things stirred up. I think the Seahawks should embrace that and get after him. Guy made a nice interception to save the Rams because the Bears were driving there for the victory and would have been Chicago instead. But yeah, what the heck? If he's adding to it, yeah, the more the merrier, I guess.
Hey, I'm just watching Mel Kiper's mock draft going number one is the guy that you don't like that's hugging his mom in a wheelchair, Fernando Mendoza, going to the Raiders.
Okay. All right. Well, my analysis is that he's not going to be as good as everybody thinks he's going to be. Okay. Is that all right?
Yeah, no, it's good. The how do you know what's going to be a thing this week too is with Sam Darnold and like how good does he have to play? Like, does he not have to turn it over? We've talked about the turnovers and all that. Like, oh my God, they've had 7 turnovers compared to the Rams just having 1. And everyone's like, just don't make a mistake, right? Because that's all you're going to hear this week. Don't make a mistake, Sam. See, like, there's no way that the Seahawks don't coach him that way. They're not going to tell Sam Darnold, hey, please don't make a mistake. They may call conservative play calls and all that. But don't you think he's going to have to go into the game this weekend not thinking, I can't throw a turnover. I can't throw a pick. I can't do anything stupid with the ball. He's just got to have to let it rip because if you play that way, isn't he just going to play gun shy?
Well, yeah, I think we've found that Mike McDonald doesn't coach that way. He wants him to let it rip. And I was thinking about Darnold, and I know everybody's thinking about Darnold and have different thoughts about him. And I saw the one of the yelling shows had coming up next is Sam Darnold, the weakest link on the Seahawks. And I thought, God, here we go. Trashing on Sam Darnold the week before the conference championship game. And I know why they're doing that. And it did make me stop and think, because I'll ask you the question, is he the weakest link on the Seahawks? And I think you might have to say yes. You might have to say yes and agree with the Yelling Show guys that maybe Sam Darnold is the weakest link. And yet at the same time, you stop and you go, well, wait a minute. The first 8 games of the year this year, he was an MVP candidate. And that game against the Commanders, no one will forget that, when he was 17 for 17 and he was just throwing dimes all over the place. So he's so darn good. And we know about the interceptions and we know about his turnover problems. But I again feel bad for the guy, because even if they win the Super Bowl, he's not going to get the credit that he deserves. It's going to be along the lines of, well, they won in spite of him. They're not going to say they won because of him. It's going to be in spite of him. I hope that if they do win it all, that they go, God, remember that year, 2025? Sam Darnold took a lot of criticism, but in the end, boy, did he came through when they needed him in the most vital situations. And I hope he gets the credit that he should have coming to him.
See, and then if that is the reaction, they go win it all and they say that they won despite him, that's just ignorant and wrong. I mean, this is back-to-back years where he's put up incredible numbers. This is not Trent Dilfer. It just is not.
No.
Trent Dilfer literally was just a guy that turned around and handed the ball off. That's all he did, and then relied on a arguably the greatest defense in the history of the sport. And the game is way different now than it is now. Sam Darnold has had back-to-back MVP seasons where you make a legitimate argument he should be the league's MVP. And so for anyone to say, well, they're going to win despite him, it's wrong. It's ignorant. It's not watching the game. It's certainly not understanding it. They're not in this situation if the Geno Smith is the quarterback. They're just not. Go back. I watched it last night. I watched the fourth quarter and the last drive of their game against the Rams. He was freaking brilliant. I mean, brilliant. Some of the throws he made. I mean, that cup throw on the sideline, that's one of the most gorgeous throws I've ever seen a quarterback make. And then he follows that up with just a laser to JSN in the back of the end zone. And then to have the patience and great job by the line to protect him on the 2-point conversion. Again, I agree with all the storylines going in. That's what they'll be. But anyone says they win it, if they do win it, that it will be despite him, I don't agree with. I do think, though, and I'll articulate this the best way I can. It's not that he has to play better this weekend. They're just going to need more from him, I think, this weekend than they got last weekend, because they're not going to blow them out. They're not going to win 41-6. This is a much better team than the 49ers. Sam Darnold is just going to have to make some big-time throws like he showed in the last game where he hit Cooper Kupp. He's going to have to play really well. Does he have to match Stafford pass for pass? No, but he's going to have to play like MVP kind of first 9-10 games of the season, Sam Darnold, I think, just because the Charbonnet injury is a huge injury. And I just don't think it's getting enough play in this town of how massive this injury is. This guy was not the backup running back. They were co-starters. Look at the carries. Look at how they divvied it up. They were averaging 170 yards the last 4 games. And you go back and look at it, they were even Steven on carries, minus the last game when he got knocked out. And we haven't even got into what he means in the passing game and the pass pro. He's their main running back in the passing game when they go there for pass protection. That's a big loss, and someone's going to have to pick that up. Walker obviously is going to be part of it, but I think a lot of that then does fall on Sam Darnold as well.
Well, it does. And I just, a lot of things going through my mind when I think about Darnold, and it's amazing. The number one thing that's most amazing about him is that the 2 teams that he was a starting quarterback for, the Vikings and the Seahawks this year, they've gone 29-7 with him as a starter. And maybe this year you go, well, yeah, the Seahawks had the number 1 defense. So, just as long as he was average, that he's going to have a good record. Well, what about the Vikings defense last year? I know the Vikings defense was good, but not the caliber of this defense this year. And the other thing that occurred to me too was, CJ Stroud the other day when he threw 4 interceptions in the first half at New England, the rest of the game he still looked like he was the guy seeing ghosts, not Darnold. His body language, everything, he just didn't look confident the rest of the game with the Texans. And of course, the Texans went down to defeat. And now there's all these questions about whether Stroud can be a franchise quarterback. When you think about Sam Darnold in that first game against LA, he threw 4 interceptions. It was a horrible game for him.
Sure.
But that last drive, when they needed him to come through, now that drive fell short, but it was only because of the clock. It wasn't because of Darnold. So he was still there. The second game against the Rams threw 2 interceptions, including a pick six.
Yeah.
He led them to the tying touchdown and then won the game in overtime. This guy really should be. I mean, he might go down next to Russell Wilson as the greatest quarterback in Seahawks history if he continues the way. If they win this year and he stays for another 3 or 4 years, who knows what the future holds for him? Because this defense will still be solid as hell next year and maybe for years to come. And Darnold's only 28 years old or something?
Sir, what did you just say? The second best quarterback in franchise history?
It could be.
You remember number 17, Mudbone?
I love
Milton
Mudbone
College. Too. Okay. Love
Mudbone.
Let's put some respect on number 17, Dave Craig, okay? Let's put some respect on him.
Well, and then I love Jim Zorn, too. I love Hasselbeck.
Come on,
okay.
Mudbone.
And I don't really love Russell Wilson. God, I got sick of Russ, but what a hell of a quarterback.
Yeah. Well, I think it's gonna be fun to watch him play this weekend. I mean, the game's gonna be great. It's an historic game. This won't mean anything to you, but I was talking to Danny Kelly from The Ringer about this yesterday. Have you heard of the stat DVOA? I'm sure you have, right?
I have heard of that stat, and I know how important that stat is. And I also heard your interview with Danny, and I heard him explain what it meant.
Kind of makes sense.
I kind of tuned out on that part.
Okay, perfect.
I tuned out on that part, but I understand that people who follow that stuff, it's probably a better way to evaluate a defense than the other different metrics that we're more used to.
Was that when did you tune out to doom scroll on Mendoza's family?
You're not going to let me ever forget that, are you? And you know, Mendoza, when he goes to the Raiders and the Raiders go to the Super Bowl, and if you still have me on the podcast, it'll be like, hey, Jim, you remember last year, January 21st, when you said, and then you'll trot out that picture of his mom and him hugging the mom, and you also said he was going to suck. The Raiders are in the Super Bowl.
Well,
yeah,
we'll see. I think we're a few years away from that happening. Anyways, on the meanwhile, DVOA is the explanation, just the way that teams are evaluated beyond just wins and losses. Like how dominant are teams truly? How dominant are teams truly? Right? It's like point differential, but on steroids. And the guy that invented it, DVOA, had come out with a tweet this week that just said, in the last 47 years of football, this is the best matchup between two teams ever. I think that's what's on tap on Sunday. I think everybody, you don't need DVOA to tell you that. I think you've watched these two teams this year. They clearly, and I mean clearly, are the two best teams and have been all year. The fact that they meet for a right to go to the Super Bowl is unfortunate in a way, just because you would like to see these two teams play at the end of the year for all of it. But this is the Super Bowl this week. I mean, I think the Super Bowl in a way will be a letdown because they're going to pummel one of those teams. Obviously, things can change, but this is an historic matchup between two great franchises, a great quarterback on the other side, and all around talent, and two great young head coaches. It's just gonna be so much fun to watch. So much fun.
Okay. Do you think, and I think just about everyone would agree with you, and that Stafford is better than Darnold, even though we're singing Darnold's praises today. but we all know that Matt Stafford's a better quarterback than Sam Darnold. But the difference between Stafford and Darnold, does that make up for the difference between Seattle's defense and the Rams' defense? I don't think it does, but you might argue otherwise.
I think the difference between the two quarterbacks, just my opinion, is wider than the difference between the two defenses. Yes.
Okay. I don't agree with that. I think the Seahawks win by 10 or more. And not 20 or more, not 30 or more, like 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, maybe even 17, but I just think that defense, the way they played against the Niners, and again, you can say, well, the Niners had key players out. They weren't the same Niners team, but still, the way they're playing, the way they're accelerating all over the place and tackling and their coverage schemes, whatever McDonald's doing with the X's and O's and the talent he has to execute all those things, we're going to see more of a game like it was in LA than we are like the one in Seattle. I don't think Matt Stafford's going to be throwing for 450. He's probably not going to even throw for 250. I don't know what the over-under. I haven't looked at the prop bet on Stafford, but I bet you it's around 250. I'd take the under on that in this game. So
line has not moved.
I wouldn't want to bet against that Seattle defense.
Okay. Well, line is held steady there at 2.5. There for the Seahawks and Rams. Hey, before you go, I want to play this. You following college basketball last night? A bunch of top 25 teams in action. A lot of great games. Michigan State bludgeons Oregon. UCLA with the upset of the night, Jim Moore, on a last-second three-pointer by a young man who I believe is out of the Tri-Cities, Bilodeau. I think he went to Kamiakin. He went to Oregon State, I believe.
I think you're right about that.
And then he went Oregon State to UCLA. Anyways, UCLA knocks off number 4 Purdue, hands Purdue their first Big Ten loss of the year, 69-67. You would think Mick Cronin's going to be a happy guy. Can't wait to get to the podium and talk about his Bruins and a big win at Pauley Pavilion. You'd be mistaken. Mick Cronin, just a salty son of a gun, upset Jim with the Big Ten scheduling czars.
Thank the Big Ten for giving us 5 of our first 7 on the road, bringing Purdue here on Thursday night, where we don't get back in LA till Saturday night, and giving us the team pick to win the league on a 2 days rest after 5 of our first 7 on the road. I want to thank the Big Ten for that.
Thoughts on Mick Cronin, huh? This is like the 17th time he is complained about the Big Ten scheduling.
Don't you love him for that? Because going into this, we all thought, well, gee, that's putting the kids through a lot with all the schedule. And mostly we were talking about football, but it's even worse for basketball. They've got more road trips to take than the football teams. And so, yeah, Mick Cronin, guaranteed Mick Cronin would be like, oh my God, he go and talk to his wife going, Jesus Christ, I wish I was 12. I miss the Pac-12. You know that Mick Cronin's on board with us.
Yeah, I think he misses the old Pac-12. I think a lot of coaches never wanted to move. It's the presidents that wanted to do it because of the money, but boy, he does spend a lot of time complaining about that travel schedule. He really does. I love Mick Cronin. He's not everyone's cup of tea. And in the way he kind of berates his players and goes after them and all of it, I get a kick out of it. He's great entertainment. I mean, whether you like his coaching style or not, fine. That's not what we're talking about. But he is entertaining.
No, Puck, I love that because you're right. I think all these coaches hate the travel schedule, but they feel like, oh, God, we can't say anything because our university president or my athletic director will be upset with me because we're getting X amount of dollars by making this move to this conference. And Cronin's just like, screw it, man. I'm just going to tell you what I think.
Yeah,
I love him for that.
Even after their biggest win of the year. I want to introduce you before you go to a young man who is a high school senior down in Arizona. And he plays at Maryville High School in Arizona. His name is Adrian Stubbs. He's a 5'10" guard. And he just scored 100 points in a basketball game, Jim Moore, joining Wilt Chamberlain. And it's actually more impressive probably than Wilt Chamberlain because the guy did it in 3 quarters. He scored 100 points in 3 quarters in a 109-25 victory over Yuma Kappa. Again, I'll repeat the final score, 109-25. Stubbs scored 70 of his 100 points in the first half. Keep in mind, a high school basketball game are 8-minute quarters.
That's amazing. Have you seen any video of the game?
I have not seen video of the game. What do you think the competition was on the other side of Yuma Kappa? The guy scored 70 in 16 minutes.
I'm guessing the opposing coach must have wondered why that kid was still in the game when they were up by 70 and thinking it wasn't cool. I got to be honest with you though about something, Puck. At the beginning of the show, when you're like talking about the headlines of the day, when you mentioned that there was a high school kid that was going to be mentioned in the same breath as Wilt Chamberlain, I didn't think of that in terms of basketball. Oh. I thought about Wilt Chamberlain and his sexcapades, and I'm thinking, Jesus, a high school kid is on the level of Wilt Chamberlain?
Really not
in that area?
Really not the show that I was going to bring up. Hey, Jim, did you hear about this 16-year-old, 17-year-old down in Arizona that's been boinking all these women down there? They say he's the Wilt Chamberlain of Scottsdale High School. He slept through the entire school, including teachers. How about that story?
I can't be the only one who thought that. I can't be. Somebody in the chat room, stick up for me here. I don't have a dirty mind. I'm not like an old, dirty old man pervert or anything. But it did occur to me. That's what Wilt Chamberlain was known for, along with the 100-point game.
All right, we put the Mendoza show of record to books. Good luck at your dentist appointment. Jim likes the Seahawks winning by 10 or more against the Rams. We'll get final thoughts and predictions on Friday along with Chris Egan for the PME show. God bless. Go Cougs. Okay. We'll see you Friday.
Go Cougs.
Okay. Areas Jim Moore with us Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Again, brought to you by A Clean Streak, Angry Beaver, and Brotherton Cadillac. All right, let's switch gears back over to the Seahawks. We'll get a full-on breakdown of the Seattle Seahawks and their matchup with the Rams with the one and only Rob Staton, SeahawksDraftBlog.com. All brought to you by Georgetown Brewery.
Drink Georgetown Tavern Beer, your new locally brewed domestic-style lager. 4.2% alcohol. Cheap, good, local.
And the Bloody Trenches with Rob Staton joins us right now for his weekly visit. Again, brought to you by Georgetown Brewery. You can read all of Rob's work at SeahawksDraftBlog.com. Also, check out his YouTube page, Rob Staton Football, and follow him on social media at Rob Staton. Well, you just heard the go-to guy, and I mentioned it. He's pretty confident in the game this weekend. He thinks they're going to win by 10 or more. He doesn't think it's going to be all that close. And how are you feeling right now as we sit here on a Wednesday, a few days before the game, and probably thoughts and opinions have changed? Where does it stand right now, Rob?
Well, I don't know if more than 10 points is that likely. When you look at the games that the Rams lost this season, we are talking about a 6-point loss or 7-point loss to the Eagles, which was a ridiculous game, a 3-point loss to the Niners, a 3-point loss to the Panthers, 1-point loss to Seattle, and 3 points to the Falcons. So when the Rams lose, it does tend to be close. That said, I do think there is something, Puck, in this idea that they've had to go to Carolina, then fly all the way back to California. Then they've had to fly all the way back to Soldier Field, play in frigid conditions, play in overtime, fly all the way back to California. Now they've got to fly all the way to Seattle. You've had an extra day's rest. You've played a game fewer. You played a whole bunch of snaps. In some cases, your key players played 20 fewer snaps than their key players at the weekend. I want to believe that is going to have an impact on this game. So I really hope that that Jim is absolutely spot on with this one. I hope he's never been more right and that they win by +10.
Well, we all hope that he's right. But I think that is a great point about the game this weekend, that, we talk about the matchup and, And whatever side that people fall on, I tend to fall on the side that I think overall the Rams team is better overall, slightly. And if they played on a neutral field, I would give the advantage to the Rams. But you throw in the fact that Seattle's at home in front of that crowd, but also I think what you just touched on, they had to grind it out in Carolina. Then they had to go back to LA. Then they go to Chicago. You mentioned the weather. They got to grind it out against Chicago. And I know these guys have been grinding all year long, and they're professional athletes. They're used to the travel and all of it. You know what also takes a toll? It's just not the physical toll. It's the mental toll of those last two games, of having to go to overtime, of having to go down to the wire and win those games, which I think equals things out and actually gives, Seattle the advantage, this weekend, Rob, because their divisional game was a cakewalk. It was over in the first quarter. It was done. The game was over, and they could relax and kind of rest up. Their starting quarterback, Rob, was out of the game with 10 minutes to play.
Yes, which is, I think, a big advantage. And the other thing, look, if we're going to go down this road of talking ourselves into this, the prospects of maybe a more comfortable, in my case, early hours of the morning than I think most people are anticipating. Let's have a think about when Seattle played. And I don't think it was as cold as this in Chicago the weekend. But do you remember when they played that game in Minnesota and Blair Walsh missed the kick and it was so cold, and that was a bit of a battle, wasn't it? And then the following week, they had to go to Carolina, who were the number one seed. And when the two teams played each other in the regular season, the Panthers snatched victory away right at the end, 27 points to 23. That was right at the end of the game. The Seahawks could easily have won that game. But then when you take into account the season's played out, you're at home, you've had a bit more rest, you haven't had to go and play in those frigid conditions. In that playoff game, the Panthers were 31-7 ahead, I think, at halftime or something along those lines. So it was an absolute, just a demolition of the Seahawks, who fought back towards the end. I happen to think that maybe Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, and Puckett are not going to allow that to happen to quite that extent. And when you say they're the better team on paper, I don't know if they're the better roster, but what I think they have got is, and it is important, and this is not a disrespectful thing towards Sam Darnold. I know some people will make it out to be. But Matthew Stafford is the better quarterback. Puka Nacua is possibly going to be the best player on the field. And Sean McVay is a heck of a coach. So if you have those three things, you're going to be a really tough out for any team. And my preference would have been to not have to face them at all, and for the Chicago Bears to have done the job for you at the weekend. They couldn't get that done. But you've got to play them now. You're playing very, very well. It's strength against strength, their offense against your defense. I think if they limit the mistakes, don't turn the ball over, Puck, I think they're going to win this game.
Something they haven't been able to do in the first two games. I mean, it is remarkable that they split with the discrepancy in the turnover, 7-1. I mean, that is remarkable that they were even, and you're right. If they can just not turn the ball over, my God, their chances increase dramatically to win there on Sunday. What about the injury to Charbonnet? How much? Rob, I got a feeling that not a lot of people are talking about it too much here. I just don't think there's been a lot of, understanding of what he means to this offense, what he does. And it's just the backup running back. And it's just not true when you look at how they've split carries, how both have run the ball here in this last 4 weeks. I mean, it's great to have Ken Walker there. And I know that if you chose which one you'd want to lose, most everyone would choose Charbonnet. I get that. But this is a big loss for them on Sunday.
It is. And I think you're right about people maybe sort of overlooking this. And it is easy to do because Ken Walker's just had a 3-touchdown performance and everyone's looking at Ken Walker and going, well, it doesn't really matter because the hot hand is still healthy. But it does matter because there are some downs where Charbonnet's he is a better fit for, let's say, third downs with pass pro. There've been some plays recently where just sort of getting Charbonnet in for a series or, a couple of runs and he's run for a very important first down. And he's been doing those outside zone runs very, very well and executing his role within those outside zones particularly strongly. And he's been a touchdown machine for the last few weeks. And if you get into that sort of close red zone area, and people take that for granted sometimes, look at the Bears at the weekend, could not punch it in when they needed to in these big games, despite the fact they've got a really good offensive line. If you're down there, we all know who's going to get the football if they're going to try and run it in goal to go. It's going to be Charbonnet, probably not Ken Walker. So you are going to lose a little bit of that. It also means that how do you manage Ken Walker now? Because he's been really having sort of 10 to 15 carries around. I've not studied the numbers, but it feels like he's been having that. And if he suddenly has to have 25 or 20, does that change? Maybe he benefits from that. Maybe he doesn't benefit from that. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I really hope that George Olani can come back, because I just think he's a little bit more like Zach Charbonnet than like a Cam Akers or a Velas Jones. So we'll have to wait for news on that. But as you mentioned, look, I think with Ken Walker there, what you have to say is, Ken, you've just changed your agent. You've got 2 games left of this contract that you're on with the Seattle Seahawks. Give us the best 2 games of your life. Go out there. You could be the Super Bowl MVP in 3 weeks' time. Like, go out there and do the job, because if you do, you're going to be a very rich man in a few weeks' time.
Well, that is kind of one of the, I guess, the greatest ironies or kind of twists and turns here in this whole thing with having Charbonnet out. Listen, you'd want Charbonnet to be there and be playing this Sunday. But the fact is that you have a free agent running back that I think as the season has gone on has had that carrot dangling over him, knowing that he's a free agent and knowing that he's got to prove himself, right, to this organization or in other organizations, whether it's Seattle or somebody else, that I can be a feature back. You got to pay me, right? This is my big paydays coming up. Well, now with the Charbonnet injury, I mean, Seattle really is now kind of boxed in the corner where they have to bring him back, because you're not going to have Charbonnet for a whole year next year. You have no running back. But on top of that, he can then go out and prove even more to Seattle his worth and to other teams. And anytime you've got a motivated player on a contract, you see it all the time in sports. Just a little different gear kicks in. And we'll see. And Walker's been doing that of late. And you mentioned the touches. I mean, I think last week, I looked at this the other day. Last week was the most touches he's ever had in a game. 19 carries, and he had 3 receptions. So he's in that 22 range. It's going to probably have to be more kind of what you touched on earlier. It's probably been that 25 to 30 range on Sunday, I would imagine.
Well, it's interesting what they're going to do with it. I mean, I remember speaking to a physio. We call them physios over here. I guess like medical staff of one of the professional teams around here, and they were telling me in quite significant detail that the injury that everybody fears within pro sports at the minute is the Achilles. That's the one that is hardest to come back from, and it's got the greatest threat of being re-injured. Now, it used to be the ACL, but technology has advanced so much on ACL injuries now that I'd be surprised if he didn't start next season. Like there's still months to go. So I think Charbonnet will potentially come back, but you can't bank on that, and that's the thing. So with Ken Walker, what do? You've got the franchise tag as a possibility. You have a lot of cap space that would lock him in for one more season. It's not astronomical for a running back, I don't think. You could look to do some kind of a deal. Or maybe you have a plan already. Like there was a rumor or two that they were interested in Devin Achane before the trade deadline. That obviously didn't happen. But obviously they could go and acquire somebody like that if they wanted to. But he would be in a contract year, so you'd have to potentially pay him within a few months of making any kind of deal if it cost you a lot of money, a lot of compensation rather. So it's an interesting one. My hope and what I'm banking on here, Puck, is that he's going to address that for everybody by just having the best 2 games a running back has ever had. And you are going to be forced to keep this man, because there will be riots in Seattle if you don't. So I'm hoping that that's what's going to happen.
You got a feeling they're going to try and lean a little bit more on Sam Darnold's shoulders this weekend in terms of the game plan, or no?
No. I think they're going to stick to what they've done. Obviously, when you're 41-6 up, it's different, isn't it? You don't have to lean on the quarterback at all at that point. Like it's just don't make a mistake, please. And in this game, you might be 10-3 down. Like I actually watched back the last Rams game in Week 16 yesterday, and it's a real reminder, because you kind of get lost, don't you, in the drama of the end to what actually happened in that game. And yes, the Seahawks took an early lead, and then the Rams dominated for 3 quarters. Like they moved the ball up and down the field. There were a couple of 4th and shorts in the red zone that Sean McVay's been going for all year, and he didn't. He kicked field goals, so he was settling for 3 points. Like if they'd have been converted to touchdowns, that could have been like way out of hand. But before Sam Darnold started to turn the ball over in the second half, when it did get a little bit out of hand, but Nakua was unstoppable. Matthew Stout. The amazing thing about that game is how open everybody was. Like in the secondary, like it was as if they weren't they've got no plan to cover the receivers or the tight ends. Like every time Matt Stafford dropped back, he was throwing to wide open receivers. Like McVay did an unbelievable job scheming players open, and it took them forever. I don't think they ever really got a grips to it, because even in overtime, Puka Nacua was sprinting downfield. If that's the case again, then yes, they are going to have to lean on Sam Darnold a lot more, because he's going to have to throw. He's going to have to make plays. He's going to have to do what he did at the end of that game. Throw a couple of touchdowns, throw a couple of two-point conversions to keep Seattle in it. And that's my concern, is that I really hope that McDonald has a better plan to combat McVay's passing offense in this game. But if they do, then you can play your game. And that's the important thing. You've got a special teams advantage, and their defense is not that good. Run the ball. Take your time. Sacks are better than turnovers. A punt is okay. A field goal is okay, despite what Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell might think. Play the percentages. It
is a weird defense when you think about their Achilles heel of their defense will be their secondary, right? It's going to be the weakness of their team, but it's also it's also like this week in particular. I think even last week against the Bears, they want to dare the quarterback to throw, because they're 6th or 7th in the league in interceptions. And I would think the same thing this weekend is going to be, hey, we want Sam Darnold to try and beat us. And we want to get him and entice him into throwing the ball like they did in that first matchup, where we think he thinks guys are open, but they're not going to be open. It's a weird thing, because you want to attack that secondary because it's their weakness, but at the same time, they want you to attack their secondary. That's what's so fascinating about the matchup with the Seahawks offense against their defense.
Well, it's going to be different. I noticed against the Bears that they were leaving underneath open a lot for Chicago. Like, it was as if one of the things they're doing, because Joe Tooney had to go and play left tackle, so they were they kept running on that side, which I found a really curious decision. And Jared Verse had his best game for a while, just sort of dominating that matchup off the edge. But then they were sort of dropping deep and sort of fearing the big play from Caleb Williams, but allowing, sort of daring him to be more patient and check down or even set off. And that's the frustrating thing with that final interception, which cost the Bears. If he'd have just taken off there, Puck, he probably would have had a free 15 yards, and you're in field goal range, and they probably would have been preparing for Seattle right now. But he didn't. He pushed the ball. Now, they ain't going to do that against Seattle. Like, they are not going to leave, because I think if they leave underneath open like that, Seattle will exploit that. I think what they're probably going to do, like you say, is I think they will at least hint to try and stop the run, because the running game for Seattle is in a much better place than it was going into week 16. And before that, in fairness, in the previous meeting, I don't think they felt like a lot of teams were fooled by the Seattle's preference to run and were going all out to defend that, and the explosive plays were happening. And LA were like, well, we're going to sit in coverage and make Sam Darnold, give him some awkward looks and try and confuse him a little bit. And Seattle didn't run. I want to see a test of bollocks up front in the trenches. I want to see the Seattle offensive line step up to the plate and go, do you know what? We are tougher than you. We are more physical than you. We're going to run the ball. And we're going to, and if they do that and they draw that coverage in, that makes life easier for Sam Darnold. He will not have the opportunity to be picked off as easily if they are having to commit to stopping the run. That's everything for me. Come out running the ball, set the tone, win in the trenches. The team that wins in the trenches is going to win this game.
It's why we call it In the Bloody Trenches with Rob Staton. Do you think the game on Sunday mirrors more what we saw in the first matchup or in the second matchup?
First matchup, but hopefully without 4 interceptions.
Yeah, that would be great. Take that.
I do think I think it's probably going to be somewhere, I was going to say in the middle, but it might just be a totally different game. I don't think we're going to see 38-37 again. And I don't think the game flow is going to go quite the same way, because in that last game, Seattle started really slowly. The Rams were sort of the quick starters, got to lead, and then kind of hung on for dear life. I don't see it being that way. I genuinely don't know what to think. I've been sort of thinking, I've been thinking Puck like 23-20, something like that. 27-24 is probably what it's going to end up being. But there is just this little bit of me, Puck, that thinks maybe the Seahawks really are as effing good as they looked last weekend, and maybe they are just going to come out and flex. I don't know. I want that to be true, because my experiences watching these games at 1 o'clock in the morning are a lot better when I can just lie on the sofa and
well, it's it's so funny about sports, right? And this is all sports. You have an idea and a thought of how the game is going to go. And then most of the time it doesn't end up that way. Like I don't think anyone, maybe there was somebody out there that thought they were going to come in there and just bludgeon them to death. I didn't think that. I mean, I thought they'd win the game, but I thought it'd be a classic Seahawks Niners game and it'd be a little ugly and they would win in the end, but it would be a game that you would feel a little uneasy about going to the fourth quarter. And again, like we started off the show, it was over in the first quarter. So I'm in kind of where you are at. I think it's going to be somewhere in between, the first two matchups, that 27-24. But again, it could be anything. It could be a blowout, could be a real low scoring affair, could be an absolute shootout. I just think for both teams, what's interesting about it is I think both teams can go, God, we really should have won both games. Because Seattle will use that, hey, if we didn't turn the ball over 4 times in the first matchup, we win that game. And yes, things went our way in the second game, but we still made plays in the end to win. The Rams they did it this week. I mean, they've got, who's the safety? I was talking about the Curl guys saying it this week. We're the better team. We should have won both games. And they're looking at that last game going, we didn't lose. They didn't beat us. We lost that game. So that they both have the same mindset going in that both of them should have been 2-0 this year against each other.
I love the fact that Cam Curl was speaking to Skip Bayless, of all people, like in shorts, in studio.
Is that who it was?
He was speaking to Skip Bayless. Like of all the random, like Skip Bayless kind of dropped off the face of the earth, hasn't he? Like if he was on a podcast with it was on the NFL Network or something, like you could go, okay, it's part of the deal that they've got to plug the game and all of that. But like really random to end up on Skip Bayless's show in shorts, in person, and saying those things. And I thought, and a lot of the replies were like, "Why are you doing this? You should be preparing for the game. Go and watch tape. Like, why are you talking to Skip Bayless about this?" So that encouraged me a little bit. I just think, look, it's clear that Mike Macdonald has got a formula, which I'm sure Kyle Shanahan is going to be having a horrible next 3 months. Because when he's not talking about off-season moves and finding a new defensive coordinator, he's going to be at home trying to figure out what he can do to counter the fact that Matt Macdonald has really limited his offense. Sean McVay has shown he has some answers. And one of the things that Kyle Shanahan will do is he'll be throwing on that tape from week 16 and thinking, like, how do we do that? And this is the acid test for me. And as much as the Rams players are saying, and McVay has said this, we want to go back there. We want to make amends. We want to put that right. And that's a great message from them. And it's perfect for them. I want to turn that on its head. I want the Seahawks defense to go, we want to put that right. That was not our best football. They've had a couple of games like that, Bucs at home and the Rams at home, where it felt like they got 1,000 yards. I mean, they near enough did. So put it right. Go out there and show you the best. If they win this game with a smothering defensive performance, Puck, we're going to be talking about this defense as one of the best that we've seen. The LOB is going to be on a different level because of what they did to Peyton Manning in the most explosive, productive offense ever. And they went to the Super Bowl and shut it down on the greatest stage. You're not going to be able to usurp that. But people are going to talk about this defense being the defense of the decade if you can go and win this game with a great defensive performance, then go and win the Super Bowl. What an opportunity. What an opportunity for the Seahawks to put this right. What an opportunity for Sam Darnold to have a clean game of football and say, yes, you've doubted me, or all this talk, and everybody's talked about it. Even those of us who like Sam Darnold have talked about the turnovers. Go and get this done, and then give us 2 brilliant weeks of just talking about the Super Bowl and going in there feeling like 11 years after the worst experience of my sporting fandom, to just maybe put it right and have a new chapter to talk about and new heroes. And that is such an amazing thought. And they've just got to win this one game to get there. I really hope they do it. I really am desperate to see the Seahawks win this weekend.
Well said. And I think it would be an incredible 2 weeks if they can get this victory coming up on Sunday. I'm going to leave you with this non-Seahawks question, but there's a reason it's called SeahawksDraftBlog.com, because you do a lot of draft stuff there, and it's not just Seahawks based, but on the draft in general. Raiders got the number 1 pick. Would you use it on Mendoza if you were the Raiders?
No, I wouldn't. I think that the Seahawks should be an example here to a lot of teams, and there's 1 or 2 other examples as well, that you need to build a roster. you need players. You need to be good in the trenches. You need to. You can't just be about get the quarterback and everything's fine. And when I watched Fernando Mendoza and I watched that game the other day, and you will have seen this yourself, Pug, how much back shoulder and RPO stuff was in that game. It's just relentlessly that. And it wasn't the only game where that happened. When they beat Oregon in Oregon, it was exactly the same way. You can't play the NFL that way. Now, he's definitely got some talent. Like there's his poise. He's sort of a little bit more athletic and sneaky with his scrambling. And he showed that with the QB draw. He's got a decent arm, not an elite arm, but a decent arm. He's reasonably sized. He has elevated Indiana because a year ago they were still a good team, but they couldn't beat, as soon as they played the good team in the playoffs, they got blown out and that was it. And they lost a game similarly to Ohio State at the end of the season. He has helped elevate them. But if you were to say to me, is Fernando Mendoza going to set the Raiders up for the next 10 or 15 years? My answer is no. And I know this is quite boring, but as you quite rightly said, Puck, this is in the bloody trenches with Rob Staton. There are a couple of offensive linemen in this draft who they're going to be really good. And I know it's not the cool pick, and it's not going to sell season tickets, and it's not going to have Tom Brady that excited. I would be doing that. I would be acquiring. I would be seeing, what the market is for a Mac Jones or somebody like that, and bringing in a quarterback who can, I would set up an offensive system that the quarterback can fit in. Maybe I'd go and hire Clint Kubiak and say, look, what you've done with that Shanahan system has done with quarterbacks who don't need the massive tools. And I'd be going down that road there and building up the trenches and accepting this is a 3 to 4 year build. You might be bad it's probably going to be bad next season. The worst thing you want to do, Puck, is draft somebody first overall, suck again, pick, say, third overall next year, and all of a sudden you're looking at a much better quarterback in the draft and you haven't really done anything else to improve the rest of your team. So I personally have got a 3rd round grade on Fernando Mendoza. I am a very critical quarterback evaluator. I understand he's going to be first overall. If I was doing a mock, I'd put him at first overall. If I was the GM and I had a receptive owner, I'd be saying, build the trenches.
There is In the Bloody Trenches with Rob Staton with us every single week. Follow Rob on social media, Rob Staton. Check out that YouTube page, Rob Staton Football. And again, read all of his work, SeahawksDraftBlog.com. All brought to you by Georgetown Brewery. Enjoy it this weekend, watching it early in the morning. And next week when we get back together, fingers crossed, we're talking about a 2-week lead up and build up to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Thank you,
That'd
Rob.
be great. That'd be amazing. Go Hawks.
There he is, Rob Staton. All brought to you again by Georgetown Brewery.
Drink Georgetown Tavern Beer, your new locally brewed domestic-style lager. 4.2% alcohol. Cheap, good, local.
Again, thanks to Rob Staton. He, of course, that segment will be up on the Daily Puck Drop, up on YouTube in case you missed it. Also on all podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. Go read all of his work, SeahawksDraftBlog.com, and check out the videos, great videos that he puts up every single week, multiple every single week. Rob Staton Football. It's just a pleasure to have him on every single week talking Seahawks. We've got Hey What the Puck to get you caught up on. And, of course, we'll do on this day. A note real quick on the Seahawks. George Holani has been designated to return. We talked about that this week with Michael Sean Dugar. He brought it up. Hey, he has a chance to return or be designated to return to the practice field. So he has. So that certainly opens up now the opportunity and the window for him to be on the field on Sunday. And it was a guy that impressed many people during preseason and training camp. George Holani, he even runs hard. A lot like that you see how hard Zach Charbonnet runs. I mean, he runs hard. But again, I go back to that. I just think that there's just not, and I'm beating this into the ground, I don't think there's enough attention based on this injury to Zach Charbonnet. We'll get to that here in a second with Hey What the Puck. But hey, before we get to all of that stuff and wrap up the show, we have another edition of Inside Pitch with Ryan Divish, brought to you by Chalet Bowl. It's out for Puck's Posse members. There's both video and audio that's up there. Best way to sign up if you're not a Puck's Posse member is go to pucksports.com. At the top of the website is a link to sign up to become a Patreon. $5 a month, or you can sign up for a year. You get a discount. Also, for you audio users, you can watch the video up there, put it up to your TV if you'd like, watch it on your phone, watch it on your TV, watch on your iPad and computer and all that. You can also sync the Pucks Posse Patreon page to all of your podcast platforms, by the way. So if you want all of the Pucks Posse Patreon content to show up, let's say in Apple Podcasts, you can. You just got to copy the link there at Patreon and set it up for your Apple Podcasts. And Spotify does the same thing as well. And I would assume other podcast outlets have mirrored those two, but those are the two prominent ones. So you can do that. You don't have to just go to the Patreon app. It will sync directly. I do it for Mitch. It will sync directly to your Apple Podcast page and also Spotify there on your phone. So it's real easy to listen to all of that. But the newest Inside Pitch with Divish is up. We covered Felix Hernandez. We covered Bryce Miller's arbitration. The Mariners did something new this year with Bryce Miller's arbitration. That's interesting. We talked about the WBC, how thrilled are the Mariners front office and organization. So many players are playing in the WBC, and who the hell is going to play third base? But we spent a good chunk of time about Felix Hernandez and how much he gained from year one to year two in his Hall of Fame pursuit. Felix Hernandez, it was a big day this week. He, second year Baseball Hall of Fame, he makes, the largest jump from 1 year to the next, or year one to year two in the history of the voting.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes from 20% to 40, a little over 46% in that time. You've got guys on the MLB Network. I think it was Jason Stark who said, hey, listen, this jump means that he's locked in. He's going to make it at some point, whether it's next year or the next few years, whenever. But it's a great sign for Felix Hernandez. Were you surprised he made that big of a jump from the first year to the second?
Yeah, I mean, that's significant. Was it 26% or whatever it was?
Yeah.
I mean, that to me, I thought it would be, somewhere 17 to 18%, but that much. It does speak to the changing of thinking with the voting.
And again, you want to hear more of Ryan Divish and why the change of voting. There's a lot of new voters that have come in here this year. You got to get to 10 years, and then you can become a new voter, Baseball Hall of Fame voter. And the people that are new voters, at last check, had Felix on like 77% of their ballots. So, again, he didn't get in this year. Most likely won't make that jump from 46% to 75% next year. That would be a big jump. But probably in a couple of years, he's going to get in. I mean, I think people got to start understanding, like, Felix Hernandez is probably going to get in. I mean, it's not a lock. Nothing's a lock. But it's a high probability he's going to be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. I can't wait. That would be a great trip to go there and watch him get in. Just a fabulous Mariner. Just everything. He was great. He was a great teammate. He was great for this city, great for this organization. It's a shame he never got a pitch in the postseason. But Felix Hernandez on his way to getting into the Baseball Hall of Fame. All right, on this day, January 21st, and of course, on this day, our subject now brought to you by Hive Social. That is HYV Social. Seahawks game is coming up on Sunday. You're trying to find, hey, where is everybody going to be watching the game? Where are people going out before the game? Where is the pregame event? Well, download Hive Social, the official Puck Sports social meetup app, and it's HYV Social, and your problem is solved. You can download it right now from the iOS store and Google Play, and again, the official social meetup app for Puck Sports. Not just for sports fans, it's for everyone. Best part about it, it's free. There is a paid one that you can get that unlocks even more content, but you don't have to pay for it because you get everything there from the free one, Hive Social. It's a great way to find out where people are at, what they're doing, what they're talking about. It's started by a Coug, so you know it's a great app. If it's a Coug designed it, it's a great app. HYV Social, download it to your smartphone, iOS, and Google Play. Think of it as like you got a family, right? You got kids. It's Snapchat meets LinkedIn. for adults, but it's better with like no ads, no algorithms, nothing bogging down your timeline. It's just a way to connect with people, and it's a great app for sports fans to find out where everyone's going to be meeting up and what they're talking about. That is Hive Social, which, of course, brings you every day on this day. On this day, January 21st. We'll start with sports. Oh, we got a lot of sports today. 2010, Kobe Bryant on this day becomes the youngest NBA player to reach 25,000 points in his career. He does it at the age of 31. He passes Wilt Chamberlain. 2019, speaking of Cougs, by the way, former Coug Klay Thompson sets an NBA record by making his first 10 threes in the Warriors' victory over the Lakers. He ended up scoring 44 points. On this day, January 21st, in 1887, many of you probably have a kid that plays in this. The AAU, American Athletic Union, is formed, better known as AAU. And sometimes it can be a curse word, AAU, especially with basketball. But the AAU formed on this date, 1887. Let's get some happy birthdays out here on January 21st. We got a special one at the very end. Legendary Temple basketball coach John Chaney would have been 93 today. He passed away back in 2021. He coached the Temple Owls from 1982 to 2006. Jack Nicklaus, the Bear, is 86 today. 18 major titles, 73 PGA Tour titles, and considered the greatest golfer of all time. Last but not least, and it's fitting this week. It's fitting what we've talked about this week. I want them to do a video compilation of him raising the flag this week. Doubt they'll do it. They're not going to take any ideas for this stupid show. But Seahawks owner Paul Allen would have been 72 today. He was born in Seattle, January 21st, 1963. He attended Lakeside High School before attending the greatest university in the history of university, America School, Washington State University. That's right, he's a Coug. Oh, many people know that. However, he only attended for 2 years. He ends up dropping out after 2 years. He goes and works as a programmer for Honeywell, which is in Boston near Harvard University. Meets up with his old pal, Bill Gates, who was enrolled at Harvard. Allen convinces Gates to drop out, and they put all their focus in a small company called Microsoft that they're going to start. They formed Microsoft in 1975 in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Of course, goes on to make a little bit of money. He ends up buying the Seahawks from Ken Behring in 1997, saves the Seahawks from moving to California. In 2002, of course, the Seahawks move into their brand new stadium, which he paid for along with the public, which is now Lumen Field. He passed away back in 2018. And on this week, as the Seahawks get ready for yet another NFC Championship game, it will be the first NFC Championship game without the gentleman that saved the Seattle Seahawks franchise from moving. He raised the flag every time, did it before the Niners game or before the Panthers game, the Niners game, and the Packers game, the 3-0 in it. I think the Seahawks should do a video of him raising it again. I think it'd be cool. But he will not be here. So the first NFC Championship game without the great Paul Allen, rest in peace. That is on this day, January 21st, all brought to you by Hive Social. That's HYV Social. Download the official Puck Sports social meetup app from your app store. iPhone users go to iOS store, and for Android users, go to Google Play. All right, well, let's wrap up the show with Hey, What the Puck? Always brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle, your restoration company that's going to let you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage. Locally owned and operated. Reach out to them if you have any damages at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. Get back to Zach Charbonnet here for a quick second, and I just think it's a storyline that perhaps that we aren't talking about enough of what his loss is for the Seahawks and what it's going to mean for the rest of the team. Probably a greater responsibility, I think, a little bit on Sam Darnold's shoulders. I think he's going to have to do a little bit more. That's not to say that he's played bad or they needed more from him last week. That's not the point. But I think they're going to need a little bit more out of him this week. And for Ken Walker, as this will continue to have the carrot dangling for Ken Walker, His most touches in a game is 22. That came last week against San Francisco. That no doubt is going to increase this weekend. It has to, without having Zach Charbonnet. But I think the storyline of Zach Charbonnet being out, especially in the passing game, and his ability to pass block and pass pro is a huge loss for Seattle. And how they adjust to that, how they make up for that, his physical running style, especially inside the 10, 5, it's why he has 12 touchdowns. Seahawks fans, don't gloss over this loss. Just because you have Ken Walker and he's coming off a great game, these guys were co-starting running backs for a reason. And so this offense has got to pick up the loss there of Zach Charbonnet. We'll see how they do it. We'll see how the Rams will react differently, especially when they get in those passing situations. It's a big loss, and hopefully it's not a big enough loss where it affects them to the point where they're defeated by the Rams this Sunday. That's Hey What the Puck, brought to you by Restoration One. Again, any damages because of water, fire, mold damage to your residential commercial property, reach out to them at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. Big thanks to everybody watching and listening to today's show. Thank you, first and foremost, to all of our sponsors, Limback Lumber, Georgetown Brewery, Flat Stick Pub, Restoration One, and also one of our brand new sponsors, Hive Social. Again, that's HYV Social. Big thanks to gym sponsors on this Wednesday, Clean Streak, Brotherton Cadillac, and Angry Beaver. Go find the Daily Puck Drop up on YouTube. Just search Puck Sports. When you're there, hit that subscribe button. You may be watching these videos, but not a subscriber, so hit that subscribe button. Also, hit that like button. Leave comments. We try to get to as many as we possibly can. Also, find the Daily Puck Drop audio version on your favorite podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, does not matter. And, of course, you can find everything at pucksports.com, including a link at the very top of the webpage. Sign up to become a Pucks Posse member. It's only $5 a month. You get a discount if you sign up for a year. You support everything we do with the Daily Puck Drop every single day, all the free content. Plus, we give you bonus shows throughout the week, like yesterday's Sports Pit with Matt Stretch Johnson. The full Inside Pitch with Ryan Divish is out now, and coming up tomorrow, another edition of KJ Arntz with one Mitch Levy. Go check it out. Also coming out later today, didn't come out on Monday because of the national title game, another edition of Graz with Gas Take 5 coming out with Mike Gastineau and Dave Grosby on YouTube and all your favorite podcast platforms. Of course, we now produce that show right here at Puck Sports. We will talk to you tomorrow, Thursday edition. Again, KJ Arntz and NFL Talk with Mike Garofolo from the NFL Network. We'll see you tomorrow. As always, we promise to be better.
No shoes, no ties.
Anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you, but you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for? We like to send out anyway.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!